Kevin Huerter. This one was easy. Fans know it. Probably people involved in the team know it. And most importantly, Kevin Huerter knows it himself. It's all about conditioning for Huerter. Is it going to be sufficient enough to prevent a late season fizzle? You saw him kind of took some steps back, I think in January and February. His 3-point percentage was kind of declining month to month. He had a great March. He bounced back then, but then we saw him, that grand fizzle out happened in the playoffs. And, he said after the season press conference that he knows he's got to be able to be in the best shape of his life, essentially, because of the movement within the offense, and which was obviously requiring Huerter to be far more active than he was ever going to be in Atlanta. It's all about conditioning. He knows it. We know it. Maybe that kind of gives the answer away, but is it going to be good enough to take him through April, into May, maybe into June? It's got to be, right?
I mean, yeah. It's got to be. Will it? We hope so. He's obviously going to take his conditioning serious this offseason. He said he would. So, I think we all expect big improvements just because it sounds like he knows the issue. We all know the issue. He's working to resolve that issue. So, I think he'll be better, if anything, I suppose. Yeah. But I guess it can only tell. He's never trained like this, it sounds like, before. So maybe he's going to learn something even more next offseason. He's like, dang, I was feeling really good into March this time, but April hit, and dang, I wish I'd hit the, treadmill a little harder during, or whatever, the conditioning during the offseason. So it's definitely going to improve, but how well, I guess that's just, we'll find out together.
I think the biggest marker will be on the defensive end, because I feel like he's got plenty of work to do in terms of on-ball defense. And when you're getting fatigued, you're getting tired legs, that seemed to be even more glaring. So the sustainability of his shooting throughout the year will obviously be a big tell, but I want to see what he does defensively, because I think that conditioning will really factor into his defense, because it's not like he's terrible on ball. It's not like he gets blown by all the time. Sometimes he puts up some really good efforts, but then there'll just be a moment where it's just on a couple plays in the first or second quarter, someone will just zoom by him a few times. I think there were a few instances late in the year where I think in a game against the Rockets before he moved, I think Eric Gordon blew by, Eric Gordon, who's 40 years old, blew by Kevin Huerter twice in a game, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just one of those things where it's you can't let that happen, And we talked about when the Kings got Huerter last year, it's this guy can really be a two-way impact player. He can be good enough on the defensive end. He can obviously be one of the best offensive weapons on the team. And in terms of, as he put it at his post into the season press conference, his role on the team is to continue to get better in his role. And of course that comes down to conditioning, but that conditioning really it's got to be there, because it's got to impact the defensive end of the floor big time. So yeah, Huerter, he's just going to come in ripped as ever. He's going to look like a freaking linebacker or something. Kevin Huerter, he's going to play the 4 now.
He was at that Niners game with Keegan on last Thursday. I don't think he was looking linebacker-ish. Yeah, I think the Kings posted it. Let me look at him. I guess.
Let's look him up. Check out his Insta. Let's hack into his DMs.
That's true. I don't know. I'm gonna look up the Kings. I know the Kings definitely posted him. Oh yeah, here he is. He looks
the same.
I think he looks a little more cut. Actually, he looks a little trimmer. Are you looking or no?
No, I'm not. I'm just kind of imagining it based on your description.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mention it.
No, he definitely looks a little more trim, in my opinion.